Dorothy, we're definitely not in Kansas anymore. Things got a little crazy out there, lots of playoff drama, and yes, a Toyota is back in victory lane, but another one that was a Final Four favorite had some issues early on, and they might be done for the season. Let's talk about it today on Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey, and before Bristol gets absolutely bonkers this weekend, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you come on back for the next video, and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Tyler Reddick is simply getting it done out in Kansas today. Wild restart that saw the 99 stay out on old tires with the 43 on two tires, and then you had two tires with the 22 and the 8 in row 2. Tyler Reddick restarting on the inside really just did what he had to do. He had a good car. Hamlin arguably probably had a better car, but his crew didn't get it done on pit road. The 2311 boys did, and we saw that 99 fade on that final green-white checker restart through the field. Just out there on old tires. Denny Hamlin obviously disappointed, but still a pretty good point day. Here's your finishing order. Tyler Reddick getting the victory over team owner Denny Hamlin in second, with Eric Jones finishing third. Larson finishing fourth. We had Joey Logano coming home fifth, with Chase Elliott sixth. We had Kyle Busch coming home seventh. We had Christopher Bell eighth. Brad Keselowski looked like he had a car midway through that race, but faded at the end, coming home ninth, and Alex Bowman rounding out the top 10. So we're going to talk about where all the other playoff drivers finished. You had Harvick coming home 11th. You had Blaney coming home 12th, with Chastain 13th. You had William Byron coming home 15th. And then we have to go all the way down to 23rd to find Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who finished 23rd. All the way down in 26th, one lap down, Michael McDowell. Chris Buescher, who brought out that final caution, finishing 27th, one lap down. Bubba Wallace, with tire issues, having issues out there, finishing 4 laps down in 32nd, with Martin Truex Jr. finishing 36th, dead last out there today. So big moments out there today, honestly. And let's talk about a lot of the stuff that we saw out there today. Kyle Busch, once again, out here at Kansas, having issues before the race even starts. In practice, blows a tire, has to go to the back because they obviously have to fix that damage. They have to, get that car right for the race, but they don't even get a chance to qualify. Kyle Busch, Richard Childress Racing, shooting themselves in the foot. That's not championship caliber. Right now, honestly, if Kyle keeps this up, I'd be amazed if he gets out of the round of 12 into the round of 8. I still think he's kind of a mid-playoff driver at the moment. Maybe he sets the world on fire. Maybe he goes out and wins Bristol next Saturday night. I don't know, but he's definitely got an uphill battle. Now, Byron had an interesting issue. There was a failure of the part on the upper control arm during practice, and a lot of people said, oh, Byron's to the back. No, because this was not something that Hendrick manipulated. This was not something that was done maliciously. This was not done on the racetrack. It was a part failure, and because of the single source part and everything that's happening with NASCAR with this car right now, NASCAR saying, okay, that's a part failure, we'll let you change that part and not penalize you. So Byron did not have to go to the rear. And a lot of people online were talking, oh yeah, Hendrick car getting a cut, getting a break from NASCAR. No, completely different than what we saw with Kyle Busch. Busch hit the wall. That was self-inflicted. A tire went down, whatever the case was. That's racing. This is a parts failure on the manufacturer who made that arm. It wasn't Hendrick Motorsports that made the arm. They purchased the arm and slapped it right on, and the part failed. And NASCAR acknowledged that the part failed. And they did the right thing, in my opinion. If a part fails because the manufacturer screwed up, they shouldn't. The Hendrick Motorsports and William Byron shouldn't have to pay the penalty. And I'd say the same thing if it was Bubba Wallace, if it was a Ford, if it was a Toyota. It's not a Hendrick favoritism thing. I know everybody wants to make it that, but that's not what happened out there this weekend. But let's actually go through some of the stuff that we saw in the race today with the heavier focus on the playoff drivers. Bell on pole, but immediately Martin Truex Jr. on lap 1 dropped from 3rd to 11th. Ooh, what's going on? Then 4 laps in, Martin Truex Jr. blows a tire in 3, caution, slaps the wall. Now, a lot of interesting... this brought up a lot of interesting conversation. Initially, The team was pissed. Martin was pissed because they had to tow that thing back to what everybody thought would have been pit road, but NASCAR, the AMR safety crew, towed that thing back to the garage. When you go to the garage, you're done for the day. So effectively, NASCAR said, "You're done, Martin. Go home." And a lot of people were angry at that. Obviously, Joe Gibbs Racing and everybody on the 19 were pissed about that. But once they got back to the garage and started getting that car ready to go home, essentially, they found out, at least according to Bob Pockris on Twitter, or X, whatever it's called nowadays, that it was the control arm that sheared. That means that they couldn't have fixed that. That's not a fixable part. It would have been a DNF no matter what. He hit the wall that hard. According to Jeff Gluck, the policy with NASCAR is that if the driver wrecks and the car cannot move, their race is over. Now, I haven't seen the NASCAR policy that says that specifically, but if Gluck is tweeting that and reporting that, I 100% believe him. The end. He does his homework. But people were pissed at, obviously, NASCAR over this one. James Smalls, the crew chief for Martin Truex Jr., tweeted, "FML." With the photo of the puncture in the tire. It was a puncture in the tire. They ran over something, a rock, a nail, whatever they ran over. That's racing. I mean, it happens. I can guarantee you the guys on the 19 are going to be sweeping, the path for that 19, making sure that there's no issues. But that's not even something that's avoidable. They check those tires when they're on pit road. That's something that could have had that happened on the pace laps. That could have happened on lap 1. Who knows? But they check those tires on pit road before they roll off pit road. So that's not something that happened in the garage area or that happened maliciously. That's something that happened between them leaving pit road and lap 4 when it went down. I'm willing to bet it happened on the pace laps at some point when they were on an access road or something. Who knows? But just unfortunate for Martin Truex Jr., who a lot of people were saying, "Oh, that's the guy who's going to make the Final Four," and right now he's not looking so good, and we'll talk about the points much later on in the show. Byron spins on lap 63 from 4th, caution, minor fire on pit road, everybody was good. Chris Buescher had a really good save here because he had to pit twice with a loose wheel. They found that under caution. That is a massive save for them. It inevitably was meaningless. We'll get to that in a little bit. Lap 81, Kyle Larson winning stage number 1. Lap 108, Bubba Wallace loses a right rear, hits the wall. He's not done for the day. They fixed the car with about a minute and a half left on the damaged vehicle policy clock, but unfortunately, that was his race, and he is in a hole. He goes into Bristol in essentially a must-win after looking at Kansas at a track that was probably going to win. He was probably going to finish top 5, top 10 at the very worst with his car. Lap 149, Larson falls from the top 5 down into the 20th position on old tires. Bad decision on this 5 crew to stay out on old tires. They lost a lot of track position. That put them behind the 8 ball after they won stage number 1 and looked to be contenders for at least a top 5 finish out there today. That's just unfortunate. But Brad Keselowski actually picked up the victory in stage number 2. He came alive in the closing laps right now. And for a second there, we thought, Brad going to be a factor today? Brad getting his first win today in Kansas? It made us all kind of stand up and go, oh, hang on. Anything can happen. And it still could. It's just looking a little bit less and less likely that something could happen this season for Brad as far as a victory. I don't know. There's still a whole lot of racing to go. We'll have to wait and see. But Larson, after stage number 2 and stage number 3 right there, Larson battling back through the field after falling down into the 20s, got up into the top 10. Lap 216, Hamlin pits from the lead under green as green flag pit stops happen. The 99 is the last to pit on 231. With the 11 and the 45 taking the lead, but the 11 starts to pull away. He expanded that lead to a little over 2 seconds, I believe, at one point. But lap 259, with 6 laps to go, Chris Buescher has a tire go down at the start-finish line. He scrapes the wall in turns 1 and 2. Caution. And that changes everything, as we like to say. Now, on that pit stop sequence, Daniel Suarez stays out. Not a bad idea. I might have come down and gotten 2 at the very least, but Suarez took a chance. He stays out. Jones gets off pit road first with his 2 tires. Kyle Busch also getting off pit road second with 2 tires, Logano getting off third with their 2 tires, and Hamlin getting off fourth. Now, the incident that I just saw a replay of that happened on that exchange was the fact that Chase Elliott and the 5 of Larson got into it on pit road. They were 4 wide exiting pit road, and Larson basically moved a little closer to his teammate, and from Elliott's perspective, door slammed him, but from the 5's perspective was simply getting out of the way to give another vehicle some space. And when they were off pit road, Elliott retaliated. He turned down into his teammate and door slammed him. And that, to me, tells me that clearly, Chase Elliott is still dealing with anger management issues, and he's quick to anger. He did this exact same thing with Hamlin at Charlotte earlier this season and put Hamlin into the wall, turned him, and was suspended a race for it. And now you can tell there's no love lost between Larson and Elliott. Like, you can tell there's a rivalry there, and I'm going to call it a rivalry because that's exactly what it is. Those 2 drivers are fighting over at Hendrick Motorsports to see who is the number 1 driver at Hendrick Motorsports. Chase Elliott really wants to be that number 1 driver. Chase Elliott fans and NASCAR really want Chase Elliott to be that number 1 driver, but he did not make the playoffs. Period. He missed a bunch of races this year. He is still recovering, presumably, from a broken leg, and that team, I should say, is struggling. On the other hand, the 5 car, Kyle freaking Larson, is setting the world on fire. He's in the postseason. He's leading laps. He's winning races. He is a contender. He's locked into the next round. And Chase Elliott's still struggling to honestly win stages at this point. He can't even win a stage at this point, let alone a race. And I think Chase is starting to take his anger out on those around him. Like, seriously, get that kid into some anger management. And yeah, I get it. But if I'm Chase Elliott, I'm going to wait until my crew chief tell me what's happening, and I'm going to talk about it on the Monday morning breakdown meeting and not door slam my teammate and risk my car's integrity and my teammates' car's integrity for this race, knowing we got a green-white checker restart coming. Really stupid, immature move on Chase Elliott's part, and I know the Chase Elliott fans are going to blow me up in the comments. That's totally fine. You go ahead and you do you, Chase Elliott fans. Live that delusion. Drink whatever Kool-Aid you want to drink and tell yourself that it's a good season. Do whatever you got to do to get through what is a post-championship run slump season for Chase Elliott. The guy's still recovering. The guy missed a bunch of races, and honestly, I hope to see him in victory lane this season, but I don't think he's going to win. So let's talk about the points going into Bristol next weekend, the cutoff race for the round of 16. Obviously, Larson and Rennick are both locked in. Massive for them. But honestly, I expect both of those guys to make the round of 8 no problem. Right now, Denny Hamlin is not locked in mathematically, but he's pretty close. He's plus 49 to the good. He is virtually locked in. He would have to finish dead last, and some craziness would have to happen for him not to advance into the round of 12 at Bristol next weekend. William Byron plus 41, again, not 100% locked in, but he essentially has to finish 30th or better, give or take. I don't know the mathematics behind it at the moment, but basically Byron should be locked in. Keselowski is 5th in the point standings right now, plus 33. Blaney is 6th, plus 25, with Kyle Busch plus 24 in 7th. Ross Chastain is plus 18 in 8th. Chris Buescher plus 13 in 9th at the moment, with Christopher Bell plus 13 in 10th. Joey Logano plus 12 in 11th, with Kevin Harvick plus 7 in right now in that final spot in 12th. On the outside looking in, and this is where things get very interesting, Martin Truex Jr. minus 7. That massive lead that MTJ had coming into this season, the regular season points winner, quote unquote, is negative 7 and in danger of being eliminated round 1 heading into the Bristol night race this weekend. That is alarming if I am Joe Gibbs Racing, if I am a Martin Truex Jr. fan. But what's even more alarming for Toyota is the fact that Bubba Wallace is minus 19, 14th in the point standings right now. That is also alarming. Bubba has had good runs at Bristol, but I don't see him going out there and getting a top 5. I see him maybe squeaking a top 10, maybe a top 15 out of Bristol next weekend, but that is alarming, and Bubba Wallace fans, Toyota 2311, should be nervous. With Tyler Rennick locked in, I'm doing everything I can to get Bubba a win this weekend at Bristol, or get him into that top 5 because he needs a really good run. And there's absolutely no surprise here with these two. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., -22, 15th in the point standings, and Michael McDowell, -40, 16th in the point standings. What did you expect? Like, did we really think Ricky Stenhouse Jr., after winning the Daytona 500, was not going to be eliminated in round number 1? And I know everybody was saying, oh yeah, he's running good. He's running top 10. He got a top 15. Who the hell cares? Period. I don't care if you're running top 15. Top 15s are not championship caliber runs. Period. If you want to win a championship in NASCAR, in any sport, at the very least, podiums, wins, and top 5s. Top 5s at the bare minimum. If you can't run in the top 5 at any given racetrack, I don't care that you're running 10th. I don't care that you're running 15th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at no point in the last 10 years has ever been a championship caliber driver. Nothing against him. It's kind of the organization he's with. It's kind of that he's never been in that position. He's obviously won Xfinity championships. Good for him. That's awesome. I think he's always going to be that Xfinity great driver. He's a great dirt track racer. He's a good driver, period. Great plate racer, or restrictor plate, or super speedway racer, however we want to phrase that. But he's never been a top caliber NASCAR Cup Series driver and never will. I'm sorry, Ricky. I'm sorry. That is just the fact. Michael McDowell, same thing. I'm sorry. He won Indy. Very, very, very cool. They deserve that victory, but he was never going to advance into the round of 12. Maybe he's going to prove me wrong. Maybe they're both going to prove me wrong and head into Bristol this weekend, and both of them run top 5. One of them sneaks a victory, but I think it's more likely that Dale Earnhardt Jr. will win the Cup race this weekend than Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Michael McDowell. Period. And Junior's not racing as far as I know. I know he's racing the Xfinity race and everybody's excited about that, but it's still just not going to happen for these two drivers. I'm really sorry, but both of them making the playoffs for their teams and the owners' playoffs is massive for those smaller organizations. They're both going to take the resources, the money that they get at the end of the season, and presumably put them back into the race team and really try to advance those programs, particularly front row. But it's still a struggle for them to get out of the round of 16. They're just simply not there yet. I do think that McDowell is going to take more advantage and front row of making the playoffs and putting those resources back into the race team than JTG Darty Racing, but I still do not think that they're going to be championship caliber drivers or organizations in the near future. Period. I know after Indy, everybody was like, oh, he could win it all. He could go far in the playoffs. He could upset. They're going to be out round 1. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. Here's what the Kick streaming schedule looks like. A little bit different this week. We do have the ARN Thunder Series happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern as the Brickyard 400 takes to the track for the ARN Thunder Series. The playoffs heating up in that series. Then on Wednesday, we tackle week number 1 of Season 4 2023 in the Cup Series for Team Spire and Inspire Motorsports as we head out to Bristol. Then on Saturday morning for me, Saturday midday on the East Coast, it is the eNASCAR iRacing Series, the Bristol 500. 500 laps at the Bristol Motor Speedway. What could go wrong? And then on Sunday, next Sunday night, we will once again break out NASCAR Thunder 2004 and a little Heat 5 2023 mod edition. So we're looking forward to the Sunday night gaming. And yes, you can see 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night for me, midnight technically on Monday morning on the East Coast. So that is the Kick streaming schedule. Check out kick.com/Hey Alan Bailey so you can watch for free. So with Kansas in the rearview mirror, we head to Bristol, and a lot of people are on that cutoff line. I'm worried about Martin Truex Jr. because he's been the guy who's either hot or cold, and that's been Martin his entire career. He's the guy who's either leading 400-plus laps and winning the race, or just meh. Or in the last 2 races, he's been finishing 30th or worse, multiple laps down, DNFing. honestly just super inconsistent right now, and I'm sure they'll turn it around. I'm sure they'll have some good runs this season. I have a feeling he's being eliminated on Saturday, but I want to hear what you have to say. Who do you think will be eliminated? Which 4 drivers will be eliminated this Saturday night at the Bristol Night Race? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're there, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you come on back for the next video, and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. I want to thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.